camera with the intro.
Does it light up?
No.
Oh.
He'll give like a little, he'll throw up gains. We're good?
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Sims with another episode of Let's Be Blunt. It's been a while. We've been busy, been doing a lot of things. But, you know, definitely wanted to get back in here. We're just going to come in and shoot a single podcast today by myself. But I had a serendipitous run-in with an old friend and ultimately had the opportunity to get the old friend on the podcast today. So here's the opportunity. But yeah, you know, we're talking about so many things, so much movement right now in mainstream for cannabis, and it's finally becoming an in-home topic for houses that normally wouldn't have this discussion. And, you know, just happened to be in one of my stores a couple weeks ago, which I rarely am these days, and ran into an old friend that has spent most of her life building a career in therapy and specifically sex therapy. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to get her on anyway because of that, but she has a lot more to tell about her journey and where we're coming to. But, you know, it's one of those things that's kind of still taboo, just like cannabis, sex and cannabis and so many things were raised, or maybe not, to believe that it's taboo or wrong in some kind of way, and there's a stigma around both of them. And ultimately, we're trying to overcome stigmas in general and really educating people about so many things on this show and through our company of you know, things that we've been lied to about or misled just by people that maybe not realizing they're lying or just regurgitating what they've learned over time. But without, you know, further delay, I'd like to introduce our guest today, Miss Morgan Ray. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
Wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Met Morgan some time back. I can't pinpoint the exact point when I met her, but I've known her for quite some time now, probably over 15 years, maybe longer. Yeah,
As long as I've
kind of
been
crazy.
with my
We're not
man,
any
yeah.
younger. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But she's one of those people that immediately after meeting her, I felt like I've known her forever. And it's only natural that she had a career in therapy. She's easy to talk to. But in talking to Morgan in the store a couple weeks ago, she talked about her passion for plant medicine and how she wants to evolve her career into helping people with plant medicine in the same way she did with counseling. So that's why we got her on the show today. We're going to talk about everything we can from sex therapy. I also have one of my employees in here off camera, Gabriel Todd. He was very interested in the topic today. I told him what, you know, Morgan did for a living and her career, and he came ready with all the ChatGPT questions of what we've got to ask today. But, you know, I think this is going to just be a great open conversation about overall health, mental health, sex health, and how plants play a role in that, or can play a role in that moving forward. So thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Where do you want to start off?
I know it's going to be hard to keep us on track because of, you know, ADHD. Thank you very much. My name is Morgan, and we are wondering what we're going to call each other because through our life we have called each other many names.
Nicknames.
Maybe Mike.
Right.
Let you know. Morgan, my
Just
closest
make
to
sure
me.
you call me. That's all that matters.
Yeah, call me Mo. You spoke about my career, and you know what's been so important to me this last couple years is going from a licensed clinical mental health counselor, LC, which is a qualified supervisor. I've not renewed my license to pursue plant medicine full time, and I still have a curated caseload that I choose to take on. And what you and I were talking about is the same reason that I got into sex is to educate people because of misinformation out there, or you're going to go blind if you masturbate is the same thing with cannabis.
Right.
And, you know, we can talk more about psilocybin and MDMA and all of those things, but in a therapeutic way, in a body way, in a consumption way, really to mindfully, intentionally consume. That goes along with me choosing to take alcohol out of my life for the last 4+ years. And I really believe in cannabis. And like I told you, the education piece, the working to bring it more into the home.
Sure.
You know, more into the home.
And I love that. And I think it goes hand in hand. And that's where immediately when I was like, we got to get and talk about this, because I think about how much in regards it is. Not only people have these hang-ups about cannabis or plant medicine or alternative medicine through mushrooms or what have you, psilocybin, magic mushrooms, whatever you want to call it, but the same deal with sex. And me being older in the 90s.
How old are you?
I'm 44. I'll be 44 in November,
Okay.
so I'm actually 43. But
Okay.
I work with children all around me, so it's,
Gabriel, how old are you?
I think he just turned like 18.
Are you
19.
serious?
Yeah, dude.
You are 19 years old?
Dude is young.
Oh my God.
So-
we have got to show the people what you look
Right,
like.
you'll come on this side of the camera quick and say, hey.
Yes. Come
Yeah.
sit in Dad's lap.
Yeah, come sit down. But yeah, this is Gabe. We can check him out. It kind of looks like Luigi or Mario, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yes.
I was kind of going for Borat.
Right, Borat. Ah, very nice.
Okay,
Very
what
nice.
is your question though? Do you think that we should ask that, or we will be soon?
We're going to get to him on the question. He's got a whole bunch of ChatGPT questions.
And he looks nervous.
He does. Yeah. He's new to
Have
sex.
you
He's
ever
new to
said-
life.
Yeah,
He's young.
Yeah.
So,
And you're not with.
right.
Happy early birthday,
Right.
though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's, what not only are they hand in hand about the taboo or whatever, I think about sex shops, or as you called it, dongs and bongs
My
shops
man.
back
Yeah,
in the
I used to
90s
work
with your
at
man.
one.
It used to be in the shadiest parts of town. You would go to these sex stores, and they had DVDs and stuff, and it was the sketchiest people, and you'd go knock on the door, and there's cameras, and you'd look through this little peephole, and that lets you in. Sketch as hell. Even in New York City, I remember being up in New York City in '99 in Times Square. It was like porn central, but it was even so weird and so taboo, and these little sex booths and everything. But I think about that versus what they are now with these Adam and Eve stores and things, where we got open glass fronts with lingerie displays and everything, and how it's become socially acceptable because people are realizing you don't have to weaponize sex or demonize this thing, and sex can be a very beautiful thing if you don't create victims with it, and we can get into that. But I also think it's a lot of nature versus nurture. It's what you're brought up believing. And my wife and I have this conversation a lot about our children, about how we want to really encourage them to explore their own bodies from whenever, and they're already getting to the point where they start touching themselves or whatever, kind of weirdly in a setting, but we don't want to make it a thing. So we say, hey, listen, if you're going to do that, maybe go to your room or whatever. And it's just like, I don't think they realize they're doing it, just kind of sitting there diddling or whatever. Us boys growing up, even my son, my 1-year-old son, we don't stop touching our shit from the day we're born. So it is what it is. But, I think we want to create that safe environment for our kids of, explore your own bodies. There's nothing wrong with that. You're not going to go blind if you're masturbating, although that might explain why I'm going blind at 40.
No, it is age. It is age because I'm
Okay.
older than you, and I just got these glasses.
I had to
so.
have eye surgery
Proof
and everything.
that it is that.
Once I had 40, shit started falling apart.
Yes.
But I think it's ultimately cannabis and sex and so many things are driven by societal pressures and norms and what we know to be norm. But what we're finding out more and more is most people are big old freaks. They just have to suppress it or hide it because of, their careers or their spouse or whatever. And I think most people, if they gave it a try, are big old potheads,
Right.
cannabis or
Right.
psilocybin. And
Yes.
but we believe in the fear of trying things. We just kind of adapt other people's fears to our own belief system, if you will, because we're too afraid to try it ourselves. And it's easier to say, oh, my friend did this and that was their experience, so I'm sure that's going to be my experience, so I'm not going to try it. So I think all of this goes hand in hand. Plus, I hear more and more people coming to our stores to buy products we sell to help them achieve socially or sexually what they're looking for. And I think all of it comes down to just being able to do this, to have an open conversation about things that maybe were taboo even 5, 10, 20, 30 years ago. Now we're open conversation because it seems like the things that are most taboo are what we have the most in common. It's like people don't ever talk about taking a dump, but we all do that. You know what I mean? So it's like, don't make it weird. Don't make it weird if I don't make it weird. But through all of that, what you got into sex because of the misinformation, sex therapy because of the misinformation and things like that. I guess, and I got Gabe going to let us go a couple. What is probably the most common sexual issue? Is there a common thread? Is it overcoming some kind of trauma? Is it overcoming or trying to explore? Like, what is probably the most common thing people come to you for?
Okay, that's very loaded.
Very loaded.
I want to go back to one thing that you were talking about
okay.
is my man is a shout out to my man,
Right.
Jones, and he worked in a bong and dong shop in Boone. Shout out to Hope Massive.
Right.
But he opened my eyes to so much in terms of acceptance and it being okay with everything, coming from the South and coming from also a Catholic place. There's a lot of different places, not only in those two, where you are condemned for pleasures of life, quote unquote, and or denied help for what you need,
right.
which would be cannabis, when I think about what brings people in, it is, yes, trauma, low self-esteem, and for men, erectile dysfunction that is largely a belief system that, I have learned can be really helped with cannabis and psilocybin. And,
right.
So, when there is a common problem, it is misinformation, communication, acceptance,
Right.
And there's always going to be issues with with couples,
right.
but I don't know. I think there's some specific questions, that Gabriel has burning in his.
Yeah. What's your burning question?
I was curious because you just said that you got into it because you're misinformed.
Yeah.
What specific information were you misinformed at?
You're going to go to hell.
At a young age?
Right.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know if they can hear him on the mic, but Gabe's question is, what misinformation? What was your question?
What piece of information misinformed you to make you want to
So,
sex therapy?
what piece of misinformation was a catalyst for me to become working with sex
right.
and everything? Okay, so I grew up in a wonderful conservative Baptist family, and they are amazing. And my mom actually brought this up recently about the true love weights. I don't know if anyone in here has ever heard of that, true love weights. It was a contract that you sign, and you wore a ring, and it was that you're not
like
going to
a
have
promise
sex.
ring kinda
Yeah,
deal.
and then when
Yeah.
you have sex, you give them the ring, and very, very very
Wow.
hell. I had a lot of questions when I was younger. I have it framed that my mom gave me, and she was so cute about it. My mom's like this short, and it says, "Thank you for talking to me about sex." And it was in I was 8 or 9, but I have so many questions about my body and everything. And I think about now my daughter, she doesn't everything I say. She's like, "Stop!" I'm like, "How are you going to learn though? How are you going to learn?" Hold on, let me
You're gonna learn this. Nah, it's cool.
Should I give a shout out
Yeah.
to Loyal Oils?
Oh yeah, for
Oh yeah, shout out Loyal Oils.
Loyal Oils. Brian, what's up,
So
man?
it was not talked about at all in the home. And it was, if it is, it was like, honey, it's not worth 60 seconds. Like, you're going to go to hell. So
Part of that's
you're
true.
going to go to hell. You're going to get a disease. You're going to get pregnant. Now, that's not to say that a lot of that doesn't happen, can't happen, will happen. It was very, very scary and weaponized and so a good or bad thing, and still is. Still, I think so many parents feel the weight or the worthiness of them as a parent is not, in our culture and a lot of other ones, if you're a virgin and you don't do drugs and you don't have a tattoo.
Right. Right.
But
Especially
so
the South.
it was, don't talk about it, don't talk about it, don't talk about it. The first person that you do that with, that was God, then you need to stay with them. And I think as soon as I had sex, don't think my mom's going to listen to this, but when I did lose my virginity and I did not go to hell, I was like, what? And then I think what happened is it led me to put up with a lot of bullshit that I would not have put up with if I had healthy information around sex and pleasure, and that I could provide my own pleasure.
That's
and I was in church, and it was just a higher power that came over me, just like with the cannabis, because it is really hard as a people pleaser in my family, very different from all of my family, but we love each other, and that is the common bond. Is that if they were more informed about sex communication and cannabis and plant medicine, we might have a very different relationship. If we just understood each other, if they knew the information and then decided against it, and or them being anyone, right? I mean, them being the community that has been condemned in prison and FBI and, you know.
My wife and I often have this talk about our parents and their parents. You only ultimately have the tools you're given, and they also didn't have the resources we have now with the internet and everything, you know. But I'm just hearing the parallels in your career choices and my career choices. Like you talk about it openly with your daughter to the point she's like, whatever, like it's not a thing. And the same thing with my kids. I have them around cannabis so much they don't even notice it. It's not even, that's just a plant medicine. But I think if you withhold it or give it this kind of power, whether it be sex, drugs, bad behavior, whatever, if you give it this power or this stigma, or I think ultimately in children, the interest in it grows. Like if you just say this is what it is, it loses interest. I'm gonna say, oh well, that's boring. You know what I mean? But if you kind of withhold it,
like with the internet now.
Yeah, like it's this destination thing, and I think you try to withhold it from kids, it makes them want it that much more. But if you say, okay, here it is, this is what it is, this is what it does, and that's what my mom ultimately did with me with cannabis and about sex. It's funny, I'm hearing this story. My mom told my sister growing up, she was like, listen, anytime you're ready to have sex, let me know, and I'm going to go get you, and I hope you're watching this, Mom, I'm going to go get you on birth control, and you know, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to support you. And then my sister goes to her, well after she's already started having sex, mind you, to tell her she wants to get on birth control. And my mom, like, loses it, pissed, like, quits talking to her for weeks on end. It's like, hold up, where's
the
this
attachment there to meaning of this system and female virginity.
Right, correct. And then my mom, ultimately, my mom was raped by an older guy. He was 28, she was 13, and got pregnant.
Sorry, Mom.
And had to put her up for adoption. So it's this whole thing in my family. So my mom, because of that, wanted to be open with us, because I think if she had the same tools and knowledge. I mean, she was 13. She didn't realize how sex happened and things. They didn't have the internet. We couldn't study Pornhub back then.
And we're all trying to do better than our parents. You know, we're all trying to do better. Than
And that's
our
what it
parents.
is. And being mindful of why you are the way you are. There's some genetics behind it. There's some obviously environment behind it, but realizing I don't want this for my kid, and I think sometimes we overcompensate and try to.
I definitely overcompensate.
You're right, but I love that. I love that answer, and I love that that's your path. We all have a why for our passions, right? And we'll get into what's bringing you to the next level. Gabe, what you got on the next question?
I do want to answer that more to the point of what got me to do this is beyond that is the information felt gatekept, and once I knew that my concrete mind was cracked a little bit, and I had gone out and gone a little bit to college and met a little bit more people outside of my horse community, which it was very lonely, I was like, oh my God, there's a whole world out here. And especially when I went to school at UNC and UNC Chapel Hill, I was just like, holy crap. Okay, what was your follow-up?
I love it. And that's usually the thing, too. Once you do get a taste of the forbidden fruit, it's like, I want it all.
And you know what really the forbidden fruit was? The tree of knowledge.
Yes.
That's exactly what the forbidden fruit is. Or the freedom of having a choice and pursuing what you want and not what you're told you have to. And that is probably why we pursued our passion too, is because it's a little bit of like, fuck you to the system, because like it felt like I didn't have a choice. As a woman, my role was to not be mad, to dress a certain way, to, you know, marry someone that's going to, all of that. Okay.
I think both my first sexual encounter and my first cannabis encounter was spectacular in both ways. But
Wait, what was that?
But I think my sex and cannabis, like those things for the first time.
So you don't need any therapy?
Right. Huh?
So you don't need any therapy?
Oh, I need lots of therapy. Trust me. That's I I need all the therapy.
Yeah.
Ask my wife.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
I can fix anybody's problems but my own. Trust me.
Ask my man too. Yeah.
Trust me. All right, Gabe, you gotta come.
The youngest someone should be having sex.
What's the youngest someone should be having sex?
Interesting.
And not a better way, not should be having sex. In your opinion, what's the youngest you would like?
So the question.
Okay, I want to put out there, I think I'm on this camera, that I had no idea that I was, am I yelling? That I was
Yeah.
going to be this type of mom.
Right.
And
no, you're not yelling.
what I mean by that type of mom is I'm definitely a little bitchy, but I found I'm conservative because
It's your baby.
my experience as a female. And I know that is a conversation and I have an amazing man that we have conversations about what it's like to be in an interracial relationship, what it's like to have interracial children. We talk to our children about that. We have, 3 generations in our home. I'm very grateful for that. The youngest, that's a loaded question because in terms of your brain development, our frontal lobe cortex does not fully develop until we're 25. Now, there's some studies that are controversial about what cannabis does to that. I was very open with my doctor, and I am very open with my doctors about cannabis, as well as I had hyperemesis so bad when I was pregnant that I lost weight, needed IV
Therapy.
whatever, yeah. And only gained barely 12 pounds with both children, and the only way I was able to do that is through cannabis. And I got advice under the vice of medical, profession,
Right.
but that and again is gatekeeping. Wait, remind me of your question.
What do you
Youngest to
think?
be having sex.
Right.
Okay, is like it used to be 13 was an average between 13 and 15. I was much later than that personally, due to scare tactics. I think now I'm seeing personally in my practice is that people are either over sexualized early when they get their hands on a smartphone and porn, either at 9 or something like that, or they don't have intimate relationships because they have the phone and like they do that and or wear a machine and can make any possibly the most beautiful, handsome, whatever thing that you want in it. You never have that connection, which is dangerous.
Yeah, like through AI.
So I think the answer is we're horny creatures. We're masturbating when we don't know it. We're
ultimately
some
put on
people
earth
are.
to
Some people are
procreate.
asexual.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's a whole nother topic. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's any right and wrong. I think that that's a loaded question for me.
Yeah.
I think that I understand that maturity and teenage and sexualization is something that you can't keep from happening with our children. Whether we like it or not, they're going to have sex.
Right.
And that's terrifying. And my daughter is almost 13, and I'm aware that there are cohorts that are having sex.
Yes.
That being said, I think that, whatever that there needs to be a constant conversation age appropriately with your children about consent, body awareness, pleasure, and around, especially for women, that you deserve pleasure too. And for men, it doesn't mean shit if you're a virgin.
Right.
I think it's removing the stigmas and the whys, knowing that you're going to explore safely. Safe sex is the best sex.
Right.
And I am not out here selling the American dream. So, I want my kids to be protected
Sure.
and educated, just like I want them to be protected and educated about drugs and alcohol. Drugs, not including cannabis.
Sure.
And psilocybin.
I can't help but see the parallels too. And, a lot of people assume just because I own cannabis or whatever that I'm open to whatever.
Oh, yeah,
And,
everyone assumes that.
the same kind of thing.
That I'm
with you.
giving my kids, that I'm making them roll my joints or something.
Right. Or of course I want you to be sexual now.
Yeah.
But I take a stab at that too because it's the same deal. It's I believe in cannabis wholeheartedly. I do not think it's for all children.
No.
I think it plays a role in some children's health
Agreed.
needs. But that whole thing of brain development and all that, I think children aren't ready to make life-changing decisions at that age and things. And the same deal, you can't keep them from them. But my own thoughts, I'm thinking about how I would answer your question, Gabe. I can tell you that already. I got my oldest daughter will be 7 in a couple days. My youngest daughter's 5, and my son is 1. And I can already see between my two daughters that there's going to be a difference between them and their maturity level and how fast they come to being ready for certain things in life, not just sex, drug use, or whatever. But I think my answer to that is educating, empowering my kids with the truth.
Yes.
Of my truth and factual truths of both drugs, alcohol, sex, and everything. And not saying you can't do it, you're going to hell, or whatever. Saying, listen, you're capable of having sex at any age, but there's so many things that can come with that, responsibility issues and life-changing things of getting pregnant or an STD or whatever. And that's the same approach my mom had with me at cannabis. My father died of alcoholism when I was 4 months old after PTSD, and we didn't know what PTSD was. But she always educated me, like, cocaine does this, alcohol does this, cannabis does this. If you're going to choose something, stay away from these. You have the hereditary gene that's probably going to make you an alcoholic. So it gave me that power. Of course, I still explored, but I had my mom's voice in my head the whole time, like, and I felt the effects. She wasn't lying.
Right.
This is what it feels like. I do feel like shit for days after I drink, you know. So anyway.
And that's the thing, though, that you talk about. I want my kids to know my truth. You know, your perspective is your perspective, and just allowing them to have a different one. And, you know, your daughters are going to have different parents.
Right.
You and Nikki are different parents to your oldest than your middle.
Right.
And your middle is also looking at your oldest, you know? And so I think what we're doing is having an open dialogue with our kids versus we are the only way.
Right.
And I want people out there to know that besides big pharma, there's another way.
Sure.
And like my parents, especially, you know, they're coming around, and they would trust big pharma. And when they say to me, "You don't know what you're getting," I'm like, "Mom, you don't know what you're getting."
Right.
You know.
Right.
You don't know what you're getting.
Right. Even more so.
And we've been told things, and I just want people to have the
Well,
information.
funny, you touch on that too. So many people think I'm anti-pharmaceutical because of things I've said and my role in
I'm
this
not,
company.
you know,
But
so.
yeah, but a lot of people don't realize that I think all of it's necessary. So yeah, we have to have pharmaceutical. There's been tremendous medical advances in pharmaceutical things that are necessary for people to live. However, I do think there's become this kind of designer drug market where if you got the disease, we're going to treat it, and if you don't have one, we'll create it for you. And we've seen this happen with the opioid epidemic and everything else, where sometimes I think people are overtreated to the point where you just start prescribing medicines to treat the side effects more than the actual issue that you had. And like you said, empowering people to realize you have an alternative. Most people don't realize even the pharmaceutical medicines are just synthesized versions of something that existed in nature to begin with, something that tribes passed down, you know, native tribes and plant medicine through the years. All this was commercialized by Hertz and the Vanderbilts and all these large affluent people that wanted to capture that vast power, that market. So a lot of times they just took what was found in nature and synthesized it where it can only be made in a lab. So what you got for next question, Gay?
You put me on the spot. Hold on.
All right, man, you gotta stay ready. You don't have to get ready. But you know,
What are some of the most common misconceptions people have about sex and sexual health?
what are the most common misconceptions people have about sex and sexual health?
Gosh, Gabe, Chat GP did well. I think that it's shameful, that it means you're a bad person. I think going along with what you asked, I think that people assume sex and cannabis are negative and shameful. And I think a common misconception does come from a lot of places, the internet or porn, that think spontaneous desire is the only desire out there, meaning that the man is hot and ready all the time, or the female's hot and ready all the time, or the non-binary is hot and ready all the time, or that anyone's hot and ready all the time. I think that, you know, the common misperception is it's easy, and that you don't have to do any education on it or communication around it or know yourself or anything like that. And I think, yeah, that there's a lot of expectations around it.
And it's crazy too. I sit here and I hear that.
And judgment, just like there is cannabis.
Right. And I sit there and hear what you talk about of, you know, hot and ready all the time or whatever. I think as a society, we've gotten so, we want everything black and white. So it's like, if I tell people I don't like Biden, they immediately think I support Trump. If I tell them I don't like Trump, they think I immediately support Biden. People only see like you have to choose one way or another. And I think they do that a lot of times with people and all that. Like, yeah, there are actually times in the day I'm not high, but I do enjoy getting high. And I think people need to realize both can exist. You can be a very sexual, horny person. That doesn't mean you're screwing everybody. That doesn't mean you're having sex with everybody.
And you can be a mom that uses cannabis and still be a great mom.
Great mom. Or you can be a very
I have
sexual
to
mom
interject there.
or
like
have
in
a
California,
be a
they
sex
have a book
professional.
that says "Why Mommy Gets High."
Oh yeah, I got like 20 children's books at home that are cannabis related.
You know,
so.
sorry to interrupt,
No,
but I mean,
you're good.
like that's too is that dichotomy of that you can still do both and be a good person.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think that's where society gets it wrong. It's like, nah, you can't be
Or
both.
do neither and be a good person.
Right.
Do
right,
you?
Right.
Do you, boo?
Right. And yeah, I'm a huge proponent for plant healthy cannabis and everything else. I will be the first one to tell you it's not for everyone. And you need to explore that on your own, everyone. I've been known to be a pusher of things in the past, but I like to see people at least give things a try. But I like to see people get there on their own because anything forced is rarely good for you, especially for your mental health. And I think a lot of this ties back to the mental health aspect is what all this feels like it comes from. I know you're itching for another one. Go for it.
How do mental health issues such as anxiety and depression affect sexual relationships and desires?
So how do mental health issues affect relationships?
Sexual relationships and desires.
Sexual relationships
Just
and
relationships in general.
I mean, how do they not? I
Right.
think would be my question for you. I mean, that can manifest itself in ways that can be solely talking around somatically, where it affects your, genitals, or it can be one partner is very depressed and anxious. I have ADHD and can be an anxious person, and my man is a man, and it doesn't mean he doesn't have his struggles. It also means that he is a man to be able to be with me and know that there's no fix in those things. And I'm medicated right now, and sometimes I do raw dog it, but I've found that for me, medication and cannabis help my anxiety, appetite, and ADHD. Not to say I don't get irritable and interruptive, and it's an ADHD is an interest-based nervous system and a dopamine deficiency, and why partnering with Mike is so exciting for me is to think about ways to specifically help those needs.
Sure.
Not only around ADHD, but around around sexual dysfunction. It's a major factor, and I think that it can be such a positive thing when used correctly. Sex can, for mental health and and support in terms of erectile dysfunction or anything like that. And cannabis, it can be such a help with body acceptance, self-acceptance, quieting the mind, working on the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system, and how the terpenes,
Yep.
thanks LA, work within your system.
Yep.
So, I think, again, for a huge part for me, education, removing the shame and the stigma. That is number one. I'm dedicated to learning more from
Sure.
you and how we can help get education out to there. Might look like classes or something.
Yep.
You know, Mike and I are looking at that. But also, I do want to encourage DM any questions that you may have, and you can be anonymous or anything around this topic. To
we'll definitely.
yeah.
We could talk forever.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll definitely probably make this into a multi-part series, and
Definitely.
then, as you alluded to, we are, kind of at the infant stages of trying to figure out different ways we can work together and help each other, but ultimately help the community. Because
we're
I've
pregnant
had some,
with ideas.
Yes, very much so. I'm sitting here hearing all this, and my brain works all over the place too. But it all comes back to mental health and knowledge and power. We talked off camera before we got started about what the COVID eras kind of did to us as a society, where I think it kind of shocked us out of complacency, where we forcefully were pushed outside of our comfort zones, our norms, and everything changed whether we wanted it to or not, whether we believed in it or not. Everything changed, and honestly, I don't think we'll ever get back to that
Wild.
place. And I think there's so many silver linings. But for ultimately, we boomed during that time. We had so many people that couldn't go see their regular physicians, their normal paths of medication, and literally had doctors sending us to us. We were shut down, and then we had both governors in North Carolina and South Carolina write and say we were essential businesses, so we were able to open, and we boomed. And there were so many people that were able to sit at home and get high all day and had a great time. But ultimately, people were looking for alternative medicines for social anxiety. A lot of people developed the anxiety of being at home alone, and depression was through the roof. Suicide rates were up, and I think we're still kind of fighting through that. But ultimately, I think everyone started asking themselves questions of, what am I doing? Why am I in this rat race? Why do I do the things I do now? How can I get better? How can I prepare myself to never be back here in a pandemic or in life in general? And I think it's created this awakening, and there's more of you and I and a lot of people that are on this sobriety path, or California sober, or naturalistic medicine path of realizing, the only thing we had to turn to when we were younger for fun or to alleviate that social anxiety was drinking. And we're realizing now that there's other options and healthier options, and how bad drinking is for us. And, it's the same thing with cannabis. Smoking it is not healthy. It's more healthy than smoking cigarettes, but smoking anything is really not healthy. So we're finding even healthier ways to take or use cannabis or cannabinoids, and through edibles and drinks and things like that. But there's this huge movement, meeting with people in the alcohol industry. Alcohol is seeing a 20 to 30% decline in sales yearly. And I think our generation and younger are getting smarter to alcohol and its ill effects, and realizing a lot of the traumas we are fighting through, whether it's sexual, mental, or whatever, are passed through alcohol and drug abuse of our past and our parents' past. And I think we're getting smarter to realize consumption of what we consume
mindfully,
yeah. And not only physically consuming like alcohol or food or whatever affecting, but I think we're becoming more apparent to what we consume mentally. The music we listen to, the shows we watch. Our brains don't know the difference. Even porn, we're realizing that watching porn actually has some very negative side effects over a long time period.
Especially we could have a whole thing. As hear you say awakening, it's so cute to see you say that word. It's a little too I was talking to somebody the other day. It's a little too woo woo, but I love it.
Right.
As in talking to this, I consider myself now a communications consultant. Now I'm thinking of changing that to like a cannabis consultant. And thinking, and I'm still seeing clients, and I love the clients that I work with. They come to me ready to work, and ready to invest in knowledge about themselves, and and all of that. And so, I'm still seeing clients, and I also, believe in cannabis and look forward to working with you on this, of bringing. There is such an intersection of how we've been trained a certain way, whether it be through religion, through politics, through manipulation. And I think that's a question that you ask yourself. Are you being managed? Are you being manipulated? and do your own research and come and, come and try things. Like you said, come to Crown Town, come and see, come to me, talk to me, explore yourself, explore your body. I look so forward to what we can do,
The sky's the limit. And I think that's the thing is my life passion is obviously cannabis, but ultimately education and ending stigmas. I always said once cannabis is legal nationwide, I'll probably quit. You know what I mean? But I think it's ultimately it's
bigger than that. It's knowing why it's so wonderful.
It's something that's big in my
helps.
life too. I'm fortunate enough to have very great male friends in my life, and including and my man Basel over there behind the camera. He and I are each other's therapists many days, and I think there's a big stigma too, especially in the male community, that we're not really allowed to talk about our emotions and talk about what we go through, and it almost feels like we're just expected to provide, and that's what our value is. But men are very complex animals too, and
I agree.
We get to have some great conversations here, and I would love to see a movement around all of this, because I think it's all encompassing. And I have a friend building a wellness facility. I myself am working on a wellness facility, so we can have more of these retreats, couples retreats, individuals or whatever, where we can work on all these things. We can have ayahuasca treatments, we can have psilocybin treatments, we can have, sex therapy and things like that with couples. And there's so many facets of this, but it all comes back down to overall health and mental health, and the options we have available for us today, and the education we have available for us today. And people like you that had to walk away from a license or a certification because it doesn't allow you to do what you and your heart thinks goes well with this. And there's another person, Dr. Cammie Benton out of Huntersville, and I'm trying so hard to get you on the show, Cammie. You got to, but Cammie is an MD, a licensed doctor, as well as Dr. Ferris that we have had on this show often. Are very big into plant medicine. Dr. Ferris is a triathlete, incredible. Cammie, very smart woman, but they both have risk and continue to risk their medical certification because they see firsthand what cannabis does for people or psilocybin does for people, and they took an oath to become doctors to help and save people, but yet they're being told you can't offer this thing that blaringly is going to help your patient. And people like you and people like them that are taking this chance, people like myself that are taking this chance against society, against the laws, against the rules, because we believe so passionately, and we know this is making changes because I get to see it every day. And I don't need a damn test to tell me this, that, or the other. I can tell you from my customers, I've watched them overcome so many things and now are solely plant medicine based with cannabis and psilocybin, and walked away from all over pharmaceutical drugs. I get to see these things. So whether it be placebo effect or not, it works, and they're healthier and they're better than ever. And
but
that's
what we're
my
seeing
passion.
is it's not placebo.
It's not.
I believe in it. I believe in it.
I was reading an article earlier today. It's all these studies now they're allowing us to do because we're getting away from the Schedule 1.
Yes.
We're finding out scientifically what we've known all along. Now, everything in moderation. You probably shouldn't smoke as much as I smoke or consume as much cannabis as I consume. It does affect your life. If you're too damn high, there's some things that take a toll. You might start forgetting some things. You eat too damn much. You might sleep too much. But anyway, I think is exploring all of this, whether it be sex, whether it be cannabis, whether it be plant health, whether it decide to go on a diet or not.
Well,
I think
what you say, I hate the word diet too.
Right.
I don't like the word hate either. But
Right.
and
Right.
what I hear you saying is when you say everything in moderation, what you and I are talking about for future endeavors and all of that is mindful, intentional.
Right.
I know Gabe, you spoke to me earlier. Ladies, Gabe is single.
Yeah. All
So,
he does is get high
if
by
you're
himself
interested.
and has no friends.
So that is where we're saying is that not be alone, and everything in moderation and intentional use, and to use it for a purpose. So like that cannabis can help with
Sure.
anxiety, can help with social anxiety, ADHD. I interrupt like a son of a bitch,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and
That's how
so
it works.
we,
But I can
you
carry
know,
on 3 conversations. at
can
once.
cannabis, you
Right,
know, and
right.
we have, you know,
Yes,
you and I have
cannabis.
so many ideas. I've got so many things
Ideas,
thrown
we
around
call
in
them around
myself.
here.
Yes.
Yeah, ideas.
And
So how we gonna fix Gabe? Z.
well, okay, you know, we need some dates for him. So ladies out there, you like what you
Gabe's
see.
a great guy.
You know, do whatever you
Right.
guys do. DM each other.
And I think too, people are so quick to do what society, like, you know, you should have sex by a certain age, you should be moved out or in school. I think too often we compare ourselves to what society says we should do, but it's all an individual journey, and that's
Right.
what I want to get people to.
Right.
And it's okay too to try things. That doesn't make you that label from then on. You know,
And let you know, the Cannabis King and I, and you know, everyone know how we could help. You know, mine is Instagram is Sex Therapy NC. If you know you want to DM privately and
Yeah,
you
throw
know
that out
ask
there again.
some
How they find
questions
you on
like how
Instagram?
can cannabis, how can we find, how can we get the information that we need, and how can you tell your parents and how can they tell their friends, and that you know you have the curriculum to share. I think that's what we're working on. So
share your Instagram
yeah.
handle again for those listening.
Sex Therapy NC.
Sex Therapy NC. That's on
Yes.
Instagram at Sex Therapy NC.
Yeah.
And you know, we're wanting to build this thing together.
Yes.
I think an open conversation about overall health, mental health, sex health, plant medicine. I think it's incredible things, and I would love for a safe space for adults to be
Me
able
too.
to sit and learn and share.
Yes.
And get through it. And we're really building on our brand, having this social side. We have a lounge at one of our locations, actually a couple of our locations. You can lounge in any of our stores, but our Noda store in North Davison above Cabo Fish Taco, we actually have a lounge built there, and we're going to build on that, and we're going to start opening stores with more of a bar lounge kind of scene. Where people can come in and socialize just like they do with alcohol, where you can sit and you can have a joint, or you can have an infused drink, or you can have a water, or you can have nothing.
Well, this is shout out to Loyal Oils.
Loyal Oil. Yeah, Brian and Loyal Oil is a great product we carry. It's an amazing product, sugar-free, social drink. But what we found...
And as a sober person, I like to have this.
Right.
You
And
know,
I think
and
socially
you can
there's still
be a
something
good
nice
mom
to take the edge off and something to
good
chill.
person.
But we did a bit of a social experiment. One of our employees, Billy, in sales, it was her birthday, and we had a party. Her husband threw a party for her, and Brian with Loyal Oils brought this infused lemonade, and people was up there drinking it like it's regular lemonade. It kind of dawned on him and I at the same time of like, oh shit, this is full.
But no one's going to be fighting.
Nobody's gonna be fighting.
Nobody's
But
gonna be
everybody
causing
was,
a ruckus.
Everybody was fucked up. Her husband
You
sat
know?
on the curb for like an hour
I mean,
and a half.
people might sleep.
Right.
But
no,
I mean,
no
or
ruckus
eat all
for
your
sure.
snacks.
But,
no
I can
one's
tell
gonna
you,
like get harmed.
the milligrams were too high.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a social experiment. We realized that it's nice to have a social drink, but we're coming out with one drink called Hightail. I'm going to go ahead and spill the beans a little bit, but it's a very low milligram drink, and it hits very fast like an alcohol. So you can have it in a social setting.
Oh, that wouldn't be for me.
What we're
I don't
hearing,
need low milligram.
right? But what we're hearing from a lot of people that are new to cannabis, they all have the same story, including my wife. I think like her first time ever, she took like 1,000 milligrams. She said her hearing quit working. But people always, especially women, has these bad experiences with cannabis where they take an edible, they take too much because the effect isn't immediate, so they take more,
Yes.
and then they're in a really bad,
Yes.
uncomfortable place. So we're trying to get something where people can tiptoe into this. So I like to say, crawl before you walk, so we can socially have cannabis or not, psilocybin or not, but a safe social space that isn't built around alcohol. And I think alcohol and being drunk sometimes bring out the worst in us. And like you said, I was a bouncer for 9 years, and I can tell you I had way more
Shocker.
issues, right? I had way more issues with people with alcohol than any other things. I would work these raves where everybody's like rolling on ecstasy or whatever, and I could control the whole crowd with a flashlight. But you got to borrow 10 people in alcohol, and everything in there gets broken. People shot at, stabbed. So, I think as my motto is in life is learn better, do better. Because you can only use the excuse for so long of you are who you are because that's who you are. That's a cop-out. That's bullshit. You are who you are because you choose to be. We all choose, whether consciously or subconsciously, choose to be exactly who we are. Now, sometimes people are forced into situations that they don't have a choice in, and I feel bad for those people, but ultimately we are who we are, and we control who we are in our own destinations, and we're in the information age. We have information at our fingertips constantly. Most of it's misinformation, so be careful of your sources. But ultimately, having that exploration of who we are, what makes us tick, what can make us better, learn about certain subjects, and do better in each day. And that's my goal. And ultimately, I want to, with the help of Morgan, our staff, and everyone else in these retreats and resorts we're opening, start having things built around alternative health, alternative medicine, helping people overcome addictions, whether it be sex addiction, food addiction, drug addiction, alcohol, overcoming addictions and codependencies on anything. And I think we can work through that.
Sorry, I'm ADD is
No, jump in
interrupting
there,
you.
please.
I think that you've said some words that are really amazing words, like control.
Right.
That we are in control, and that you know better, you do better. I think that with what the ultimately we're saying is that with knowledge, you can do better. You can do the best with what you have. And
Right.
so, control and being mindful about what you're doing and understanding why you are the way you are, and focusing on how to be better, not just living like, okay, every day I'm going to try to do better. That's a lot of pressure.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And to face, hey, I can do this, and I'm going to do it the best I can, knowing that my ADHD might be a superpower, and that this cannabis is going to help me focus better and be a better mom and have more patience and have more libido and have more,
Sure.
control over my emotions. And I hear what you're saying is knowledge is key.
Right.
And don't get complacent. Don't assume that everyone that
Trust the
smokes
process.
or that uses cannabis is a certain way. Don't assume that sex means that you're a certain kind of person. Get out of the narrative and the boxes that you've created, and come and try something different for yourself that could work, whether
Every
it's
day is
understanding
a new
yourself
opportunity
or
to reinvent
yeah,
yourself.
Absolutely.
And rediscover who you are.
Yes.
And that's something my wife and I preach to each other a lot is trust the process.
Yeah.
Because there's some days I literally close multi-million dollars through my phone and achieve on all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some days my achievement for the day was getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I've learned to be
Yes.
okay with that, because
Yes.
I think so often we are so regimented and we have to do these things. And when we fail, it's complete regression.
It is. It gets dark
Right.
really quick.
Like, I suck. I'm the worst. I can't,
Yeah.
And we get down, and what we tell ourselves is what we become.
And cannabis has helped the lows be not so low. And
Right.
I think when you think about, there's so many, when you think about sex, when you think about suicide, when you think about the world at large and what it's doing, there's so many deeply rooted ways that we can help change, that we're
Right.
one of many. And like I said, my man really helped me learn, and you guys would love each other.
I got to meet this dude.
And
I'm coming for you.
Yeah, that shout out to my man.
He's got to come. I hear he's incredible. We have a
he
mutual
is,
friend,
he is,
and
he is.
I hear we're a
I'm
lot
lucky.
alike. I can't wait to
Very,
meet
very
him. I know
lucky.
he's got a great
Yes.
life partner.
Thanks.
And we could talk forever.
Yes.
But I do want to wrap it up. This is the first of many.
Yes.
Again, if you tell them the handle
Thank
again
you
if they
so
want to
much for
find you.
having
Yeah,
me.
absolutely.
And I'm glad.
Yeah.
The universe brought us together.
And there's no accidents in
Yes,
life.
no.
And it's serendipitous. And I can sit
Yes,
here
I
and
believe
bore the
that.
shit out of all of y'all for the next hour about how everything in my life, the things that went completely wrong and the things went completely right, got me exactly to this moment.
Yes.
And that's about
Isn't that
trusting the
amazing?
process. Yeah.
That's why I believe
if I
in something
changed
bigger.
even the worst shit that happened to me in my life, I wouldn't be sitting here now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people have to realize is what's happening for now is just for now, and it's gone. By the time I talk about it, it's history.
Great
Don't
one.
live there. And too often we rob ourselves of the future because we can't let go of the past. And that's ultimately going to be my message for this. And Morgan and I are going to be working together in the future to encompass this and build on this and finding alternative ways to just be better. and your better and your version of better and your version of better is all going to be different, and that's
Gabe,
okay.
it's going to be okay. Shout out to Gabe.
Yeah, we got to
You're
get
not
Gabe
gonna be
laid.
alone forever.
I mean, not laid.
This
We're going
too
to find him a
shall
girlfriend
pass.
or a boyfriend, whatever he's into.
Yeah.
We're open to anything. There's no judgment. This is a safe place.
This is a
But
very
now
safe
we're gonna
place.
get Gabe in front of the cameras a lot too. We got to give him hell, but he's gonna be participating in this. And a big shout out again to my homie, my friend Basel Edwards. Without him, we couldn't be doing this. I'm gonna get his ass in front of this camera too.
Yes.
But we got a lot of amazing things happening within this company. Big announcements I can't wait to make, but I think all of us around here are feeling the vibe. We're making changes. We're changing history, and we're feeling good doing it. It's fun to show up to work. It's fun to be here. It's fun to be at the cusp of history. We fight a lot of fights, and we've gone through a lot of hell, but we are making a difference. And it never fails. Every time I want to give up and walk away from this, a strategic customer comes up and tells me, I saved their life. I saved their life. Now I humbly take that and realize that me as a representation of everyone around us is making this happen. But that's incredible. What a better compliment than you saved my life or changed my life.
Yeah.
And I want more of that. Let's fix everybody. Let's fix this shit.
Yes.
The world's
Don't
heavy.
suffer.
And if you watch the news,
Don't
you think
suffer.
none of us get along and we all hate each other. But I promise you, I see opposite out here. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, simple and simple. All right, I dig it. But I love each and every one of our supporters. Please like and subscribe.
Yes.
Let's Be Blunt at YouTube or letsbeblunt.org. Find her on Instagram.
Yes.
One more time.
Sex Therapy NC. Oh, and a closing line that I'd like either stoners or not to think about is, may the best of your past be the worst of your future.
I love it. Or Jay-Z said, the worst of your tomorrows be the best of your todays. Or whatever. I forget how it goes. But either way, thank you all for being here. Thanks for having this conversation. We're going to keep it going.
Yeah.
We're changing the world, and I would love to hear from each and every one of you. It doesn't necessarily have to be cannabis related. I'd love to hear your story, your why, your piece. Even if you oppose everything we're seeing, I want to hear from you too. I want to hear opposition. I love hearing perspective because I only have my perspective. I can only see the world from these eyes, and I love hearing
that
other
are barely
people's.
open.
They're barely open, and that's normal. Yeah, that's. I'm definitely medicated, always, cheesing.
Yes.
But I love it, each and every one of you. Thanks for joining us. Tune in next time. As always, peace, love, cannabis. Thank you. Yep. And
I mean,
let me know
it's
where
so
at.
fun. We have like so many
still
things
live?
to discuss.
I know it could go on forever.